personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Welcome, everybody, to the NPL Victoria pod here on FNR Football Nation Radio. Your most comprehensive wrap of all things NPL Victoria down here in the beautiful state of the aforementioned Victoria. We said Victoria quite a few times.
Victoria.
Seconds, but just to remind and bring home the fact that this is the great state of Victoria, so you got to make sure that you hear about it as many times as possible. Anyways, Nick Tabano and Lachie Flanagan here in the studio. We do apologise for the minor delay, but we're here nonetheless for a jam-packed show here tonight. A lot to get through from all three tiers of NPL. Obviously, as well, the Doherty Cup this weekend, Doherty Cup final between Bentleigh and Oakley. Jam-packed, two guests, Lachie. We've really gone for the jugular today.
Stacked the house. Yeah, we've got a lot to get through. I feel a bit like Louis Theroux at the moment because he used to do a program that was called Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends, and I feel like we're about to review what was a very weird weekend of Victorian football, particularly in the top flight, because just a lot of games, Nick, just going not at all the way you would expect. Like Saturday was just upset central. It was quite astounding.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was all happening in terms of the top tier. Like we've seen the promotion race for NPL 2 has heated up, the relegation battle. We've had our first two promoted sides from either of those three teams. Well, now two teams. We had one team last week. Now we've got two in NPL 3, and of course that is Preston Lions. We'll be joined by their striker Connor Bell in about an hour's time. Obviously, we're going way beyond the 7 p.m. time slot.
We have to squeeze Connor in.
We've said to the overlords, we've said, look, keep us on the air. Don't cut us off. There is a lot to get through. And of course, at 6:30 p.m. as well, Lachie, talking about a big guest as well to join us, none other than Danny Kim from Bentleigh Greens ahead of the Doherty Cup. Obviously, they suffered a tough defeat on the weekend against the Altona Magic, but he'll preview this Saturday's clash against Oakley, which promises to be a massive clash down at Lakeside Stadium. But Lachie, where should we start? Because there is a lot to get through, and take it away.
Well, let's logical order in the top flight, of course. Oakley Cannons, after their disappointing shock result, I think would be fair to say, the previous week, going down to the Bentleigh Greens. You were there for that one, Nick. 3-2. They lost off the short turnaround of the Australia Cup. They had an interesting game set up for them this most recent Friday. 3-1 win over Melbourne Knights. Melbourne Knights having just sacked their head coach, mutually parted ways. Got to use the official terminology. With Steve Bebbage.
Bebbage, yep.
A first game in charge of his second stint as caretaker coach at Melbourne Knights for Ben Shuri. And yeah, Oakley Cannons got the job done in the end. But from all reports from our man Oscar Rutherford, who was there at the game alongside Damir Kulash, pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Like both sides sort of traded chance for chance across the opening 45. But look, before we actually get into the nuts and bolts of the game, the 2021 title celebrations, before we get into the game or after?
No, let's actually talk about the game. Well,
Okay,
let's actually talk a bit about the game, because it all happened in the second half, really. I mean, 0-0 at half time, and then Oakley just, put on the afterburners. They flexed. Goals from Joe Guest, Anthony Pentasopoulos, and of course, Wade Decker adding another. And we'll talk about some big news in terms of transfer news, and it might relate a little bit to Wade Decker in regards to the Golden Boot race, because it may open up for him to make a bit of a late charge.
Indeed.
And then Gian Albano did pull one back. He's been one of the bright lights for Melbourne Knights this season. What it does for the standings, well, we're going to talk about South Melbourne in just a little bit. It keeps Oakley's very faint 2022 premiership hopes alive to go back to back.
It's a bit like Dandenong Thunder making the finals.
Yeah,
isn't it? There's still a mathematical chance,
but they're hanging on to a top 2 spot nonetheless. It has all but barring an absolute collapse in the last few weeks and Green Gully winning big in their catch-up games their catch-up game and in their last 2 games, it is all but wrapped up, at least, I guess, finishing in the top 3. But what it does do is, it just keeps them that little bit ahead of Port Melbourne after a couple losses in a row, and does keep the pressure on South Melbourne, makes them work for it just for another week, just keeps things going, but gives them also a little bit of momentum heading into the Doherty Cup final this week, where they'll be looking to exact that revenge on Bentleigh for that loss last week. But down the other end for Melbourne Knights, 2 losses in a row. Mathematically though, Lachie, I know this is not going to happen because it's going to take, but they are barring.
You the last few weeks have been so desperate to pull other teams into the relegation scrap.
No, I just want to make things interesting. I'm just saying. But look, Melbourne Knights are going to, all right, we'll say it this.
You got to be careful what you wish for here, Nick, because you were like, Altona, they're in trouble. And they pulled off a massive result.
Was I wrong?
They're probably pinning your words at in the Paisley Park dressing room where Nick Dubano said we might go down.
And did it work?
It did?
Yeah. So you know what? Thank me later. It worked.
Okay. Well, Savas Patekas, I will tell you off air what the address of Nick Dubano is. I'm not going to say it on stream.
That's definitely not what...
No, I'm saying he can send you a thank you.
No, he can send it here to the studio.
Okay, 401
Docklands Drive,
15,
Docklands, yep.
Level 15, building 10. Sweet 10.
Sweet 10. Yeah. Nice. Impressive.
Anyway, now Nick's address. No.
Yeah. So Melbourne Knights are, in the end, they're, I guess, just now playing for pride in their last few games. They play a catch-up game against Green Gully this week. But let's talk about the post-game scenes, Lachie, because Oakley made it very clear. Before the game was, we've won the 2021 Premiership, but we are not going to celebrate.
Well, there wasn't even a post from the Oakley Cannons account. I think there was one, but it was deleted on the night of.
Friday night rolls around. There's a guard of honour from the Melbourne Knights players. There's a on their Instagram
even
story.
More. I think the Instagram story posts of players holding the plate, players having their medal draped around their shoulders was ticking. I woke up getting ready for my NPL 2 commentary that day, and at about 11 o'clock, there was 30. By the time I was out the door, I saw another like 10 or 15. So there would have been 40 stories on the Oakley Cannons Instagram just sharing the love. And hasn't that just come out of absolutely nowhere?
And I'll tell you what, it must be one of those situations where they saw the plate and they were like, they thought about it beforehand, like, we're not going to do it. The second they see the plate, they're like, it'd be rude not to, wouldn't it? Rude not to.
Look, I'm not inside the inner sanctum of the Cannons. I wish I was, frankly. There'd
be a flaw.
There'd be a lot of good post-training dinners there. We all know what the souvlaki is like. But I wish I was. I wish I was. But I reckon, or I just wonder rather, whether there's a bit of an element of Schadenfreude here.
I think so.
Because it's not that long ago that I remember speaking at full-time in, I think it was Oakley Avondale when Oakley beat them 6-2, and saying to one of the assistant coaches at the full-time whistle, are you aware that you guys mathematically can win this? And he was like, yeah, someone mentioned that during training on the weekend. I don't think any of us care. And now fast forward to them actually winning the thing, and we have guard of honour, we have post-match celebrations, we have Oakley players from the 2021 season who have moved on, coming back.
So Ryan Pachkowski was there?
Shout out to Ryan Pachkowski, because he sent me a message, obviously lucky enough to know him through Lang Warren, where he currently plays his trade now in the NPL 2. And he sent me a message after the Avondale Port Melbourne game saying, collect my medal for me, mate. So I thought at some point I was going to have to, do the digging for him, tap Arky on the shoulder, say, hey, I know Ryan, can I get his medal. 2021 medal, take it down to Lawton Park? And then next thing I know, I just see this photo of Ryan Pachkowski, 2 thumbs up, medal around his neck. And so he travelled all the way. And apparently I spoke to him about it on the weekend, and he said, I wasn't going to go, but Oakley were really insisting that I come there and celebrate. And so he did. So shout out to Ryan Patchy, because everyone from Oakley, even if it might have been, like I said, I wonder if there's a bit of Schadenfreude involved, celebrating some Avondale misfortune. They were more than happy to celebrate this. And look, to be honest, they deserved a celebration after what was a well-earned win. A deserved win against Knights, but they were for it. Knights did have some pretty good chances. Gian Albano obviously scored a goal at the end of the game, right in stoppage time, to make him the highest ever single-season NPL goal scorer for Knights with 11. So he beats Stipo Andriasevic's record of 10.
Well,
that is quite alarming, isn't it?
Yeah,
that no Knights player has ever, in the NPL era, ever scored more than 11
he's fifth
goals.
on the Golden Boot rankings now. He's 1 goal behind Chris Duggan, 3 behind Kane Shepherd, 4 behind Wade Decker, 6 behind Harry Sawyer. So
he does have an extra game on a lot of those players.
Yeah, so a big game against Green Gully. Lachie takes a leaf out of the book of a potential like what Wade Decker does and score goals in bags. But anyways, Melbourne Knights next in action, as we mentioned, on Friday night at Knights Stadium. Their catch-up game against Green Gully, while Oakley will be in the Doherty Cup. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But next in action in the league, away at Churchill Reserve against St Albans, which really will not be an easy game because we know how desperate St Albans are at the moment for points, especially. We'll talk about their game a little bit later against Eastern Lions, depending on what happens there this weekend. Lachie, where shall we go next?
Well, you just mentioned them, and it's probably best that we get it out of the way. Well, actually, it is a disappointing result on the face of it because it's a 0-0 draw at Gardeners Creek Reserve between Eastern Lions and Hume City. It's a disappointing result for Hume City, but it's a brilliant result for Eastern Lions because they got their first point after, 11 games, 12 games, Nick? They got their first point at Gardeners Creek Reserve for season 2022.
That should be celebrated.
Yeah.
It should be celebrated at least a little bit. I think that, we've spoken a lot about when is that point finally going to come, and it did. I mean, good on them in the sense that finally they actually did get that point. It was a pretty bad game. Like, let's be real, from a neutral point of view.
Well, I mean, it wasn't much of a
no.
Look, I went and watched the game back, and it wasn't really much of a footballing. Like you talk about how, or I was saying before that Knights made Oakley work for their 3 points on Friday night. Well, Hume made Keegan Coulter work for Eastern Lions' point in this game. It kind of reminded me of one of the other 0-0 draws that Eastern Lions had right at the start of the season with Altona, where Altona just peppered the goals, but Keegan Coulter played an absolute blinder. And he did that again. He made a couple of really, really good saves in the first half off Sam Ford, and then a spectacular outstretched leg save to deny Josh Bingham, effectively one-on-one, pretty much got it with the inside of his ankle, basically, a pretty outstanding reflex save. He's the only keeper now in the season, Nick, to have made over 100 saves.
Pretty impressive.
In the NPL Victoria. I think Harvey Lopez is the next nearest, with somewhere in the 80s or something, the high 80s. But yeah, Coulter's the only one who, after this weekend, I think would have made 100 plus, which goes some way to explaining the kind of season they've had. But yeah, this is a massive disappointment for Hume because they have, while they're not in the relegation places as a result of this game, but they have made their position really, really, really tenuous. Because like the whole time we've been talking about this relegation race, Nick, we've always been saying you've got to think about the teams who have to play Eastern because they're probably the ones who are going to get the wins. Obviously, St Albans have got to play Eastern Lions in the catch-up round. This was Hume's game. Like, this was their game to break away, make it more comfortable potentially, and put the likes of St Albans and potentially Altona under pressure too in that relegation race. They blew that chance. They continue to leave themselves vulnerable. And Dandy City, who knows what kind of Dandy City is gonna see out the season, because they got a fantastic result, which we'll get to the chance to talk about later.
Absolutely. And obviously, as you mentioned, Hume getting that point, it does keep them on goal difference just ahead of Dandy City for the time being. But it really is 2 points dropped because it really could have just given them that bit of extra breathing room. But right now, Dandy City right in the hunt, Lachie. So I'll be curious to see how it all plays out in the next coming weeks. Obviously, as you mentioned, Eastern Lions playing St Albans on Friday and Hume City hosting Dandenong Thunder the following week. So see how it all plays out in the coming days. But Lachie, we're very fortunate enough to be joined by a very special guest here on the NPL Victoria pod, because of course this weekend is the Doherty Cup final. Bentleigh Greens taking on Oakley down at Lakeside Stadium. 4 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. Obviously the first of 2 cup finals this week. The Nike FC Cup final, which you and Pakua Frimpong will preview on Thursday for Sunday, which you will also be part of the broadcast for. But of course, it all kicks off sort of the cup action on Saturday. So without further ado, let's welcome him into the studio. We've got Danny Kim, Bentleigh Greens midfielder, joining us right now. Danny, can you hear us?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yes, good. Just 1 second, Danny. We've just got a bit of technical difficulties. Yep, that's much better. There we go. Danny, welcome to the show.
How's it going, boys? I made it.
Yeah, no.
Good to have you, Danny.
Absolutely. Well, Danny, it's a big week coming up for Bentleigh. It's really been big game after big game. Saturday, Doherty Cup final against Oakley. I guess, how are the guys feeling heading into that one?
Yeah, no, I've actually just rocked up to training now. It looks like the boys are buzzing. I'm literally looking at the training pitch at the moment. We're setting up for a big session. It's going to be a good week.
I mean, how are you feeling heading into that game, Danny? Because obviously it's one of these weird situations where you've played Oakley so recently. Obviously a fantastic result against them last Monday, got the win 3-2. Do you take a lot out of that fixture that you can maybe use and give yourself hope going into a Doherty Cup final?
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. I think, when we played them first in the season, the first time round, that was a really tight game, and obviously they came away with the win on that one, and then we've sort of recovered and thought about the game, and we've managed to win the second time round. So yeah, it definitely adds a bit to Saturday. So yeah, no, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a proper battle.
Well, Danny, last Saturday, of course, a bit of a tough result away at Paisley Park. I guess take us through that. I mean, Altona sort of jumped you guys and really just kicked ahead. Really no one saw this result coming. I mean, how do you summarise that game? How have you guys looked back on it? Because it was a bit of a shock result in the end.
Yeah, no, I think it was shocking for us as well. I mean, we sort of marked that one on the calendar, and Tolsey told this to us as well. But it was one of those bogey games that came at the end of obviously a really tough month for us. We had a lot of games back to back, and that was sort of the last one on the calendar. But yeah, it's such a, as you guys know, it's a tough place to go, man. Like the pitch was just. It was muddy, it was cold, windy, whatever you want. It all happened. So, yeah, I think the mentality was there, but maybe we were just a little bit tired as well because of the fixture list. But yeah, it was a bit of a shock game for us as well, definitely.
Well, that's an interesting point, Danny, because obviously, as you said, a really, really tough month. You guys have played a heap of games, managing Doherty Cup commitments, Australia Cup, and the league as well. How does that sort of impact your approach during the week at training, especially this week? Because obviously you want to leave everything out there. You want to give yourself the best possible chance of winning the final on Saturday, but also you don't want to be training so hard that you're absolutely gassed when the ball's kicked off at Lakeside Stadium on Saturday. So sort of plan to manage that over the next week and make sure you guys are in as good a shape you can be for that game. Because I guess as well, Oakley have got their own fitness concerns to worry about too.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're in a sort of similar boat as us. They've had a lot of back-to-back fixtures too. They're fighting in a lot of competitions as well. But yeah, it's one of those ones where as a player, because for me, like the less training, the more games, the better, right?
Yeah.
So with fitness in mind, that's obviously our fitness staff, the coaching staff. That's something for them to think about and manage. But for myself, it's more just for me, it's business as usual. It's just doing the right things on and off the park as usual. And yeah, for me, it's the best time. I like having back-to-back fixtures like this. It gets you excited for sure. Less training, the better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we never played professionally, but even just playing at a junior level, everyone didn't like training. I mean, we can put that, unless, you're a fitness freak, you just love doing that sort of running and everything else.
I'm curious to know, Danny, is there anyone else within that squad that you're going to be training with tonight who particularly shares that enthusiasm for no training as well, doesn't want to have training wherever possible?
Well, it's funny because I'm actually I live with our foreigner, Ken Kralicki.
Oh yeah.
Our American superstar, right? And he's one of those ones who he loves trading, right? He's buzzing. He's like, let's go, like in his obviously American accent. You know, he's always complaining about where's the intensity, boys? Like, you know, it's hilarious, man. So he's one of those ones that's like super professional. He wants every session to be super super intense and quality. Obviously, I do as well. But yeah, I think it's just funny how he's always keen for everything, man.
Well, in terms of that midfield, you know, yourself, Ken, Tom Strickland, whether it's George Lambatorides as well, I guess you guys are really firing on all cylinders at the moment. And looking at that game, particularly against Oakley, you guys really choked them in the middle of the park and were able to really exercise a lot of control. And really, you know, you talk about fitness, you guys were just running over them in that point in time. How have you found, I guess, the synergy in midfield with guys like Ken, with Tom, or whoever fits in that midfield three?
No, I've really enjoyed it, actually. The early part of the season, we had a lot of injuries as well. So that midfield, we didn't really have too much consistency. And this was all over the park as well. But as a midfielder, yeah, it's always good when you can play with the same players consistently and build some chemistry there. But yeah, these last couple of weeks, it's been me, Ken, Lamba, and yeah, it's been good. I think it's the way we play as well. Our midfield's so important to us. We obviously like to keep the ball. We're a possession side, so whenever our midfield has a good game or can really step up, you know we're going to be dangerous. So yeah.
I mean, because you live with him, I've got to ask the question. Just a little bit on the Australia Cup. Obviously, you guys got that dramatic extra time win over Broadmeadow Magic, and it was your housemate who was the scorer. First of all, tell us a little bit about the moment, the game itself, how you found it, but also tell me as well. Have you caught? You know, you've been walking around the house. Have you just caught Ken on his phone and you can hear the commentary of the goal? He's been watching it back. Tell me a little bit about it.
I tell you what, that week after the game, that's all I was hearing in the house, man. Just back to back, him on his phones with his mates back in America. Hey, bro, you see my goal? Like, yeah. He's a really humble dude, actually. To be honest with you, Ken's had a lot of chances to score throughout the season as well, and I think he was pretty frustrated about all his misses and stuff like that. So for him to score a big goal like that, yeah, like you can see in the celebrations as well. Everyone was just getting around him, even more so. So yeah, it's good for him. It's good that he's starting to score in the pointy end of the season.
Well, how exciting is it playing in those games, Danny? Because national stage, you know, you get the opportunity to play against, you know, potentially now in the round of 16 with the pool narrowing, you could come up against some A-League men's sides. How exciting is that for yourself, but also for, you know, the rest of you guys? You get that chance to really put your names out there and play against the best of the best.
Yeah, no, it's always exciting. I mean, these games are pretty rare, especially if you're lucky enough to come up against an A-League side. I mean, I've done it before. When I was back in Brisbane, but yeah, it's super good, especially for the young players in the squad. I mean, I think I'm still young, but yeah, for people who you might not have heard about, yeah, there's always people watching these games. So if you perform, who knows? You know, good things can happen.
That's true. And you guys sort of got to see that to quite a significant extent on the other end that night, because the young keeper, Zach Bowling, made so many saves time and again to deny you guys. Were you sort of shocked by his performance in that game? Because obviously reserve keeper coming off the bench after an injury, you're not expecting much, but you guys must have been shaking your heads at some of the saves he was able to make in that fixture.
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous, man. I think we had what were the stats, like 40 shots or something on goals.
Yeah,
I haven't been in a game like that. Yeah, I haven't seen that before, to be honest. Yeah, hats off to him, I guess. A young boy coming in, literally like 10 minutes in, and yeah, he stepped up. He pretty much stopped everything. So yeah, that's what can happen. You know, in the cup games, anything can happen.
That is true. That they don't talk about the magic of the cup so often for no good reason. But you talk about 40 shots, that quite an astronomical figure. Speaking of astronomical figures, one thing that's been the case with the Bentleigh Greens play this season has been this squad's ability to score from outside the box. Like, we've seen some serious long-range goal of the year contenders just from the Greens. So you're streets ahead of the next nearest team when it comes to scoring goals from outside the box. I mean, first of all, is that something? Are you conscious of that? And is that something you guys are potentially hoping gets you over the line in a game like this Saturday?
I don't want to say we want to rely on it, but yeah, we've got so many players in this squad that can just show up. You know, like they can create that magic moment. Because yeah, sometimes games are like that, right? It's a stalemate. There's nothing happening. And yeah, we've got that many boys in the squad that can step up and have in recent games. So yeah, I wouldn't say we rely on long shots or anything like that, but yeah, like I know that someone can step up at the right time. Yeah, for sure.
Danny, before we let you go, I guess just one question I want to ask was about Christian Cavallo coming back. I mean, he's been out for so long. You would have seen him on the training field for so long, building himself up for the moment that he had against Oakley last week, and he's getting himself back to full fitness. I guess just having him back, how much has that galvanised the rest of the team to have him, you know, playing again after what has obviously been a really tough year for him on the sidelines?
No, it's fantastic. I mean, Christian was actually one of the players who I'd heard about before I moved to Bentleigh, and I was looking forward to playing with him. But yeah, obviously injuries have been really tough. I can actually see him on the field right now. He's just he's such a hard worker and just a professional. Like he's always the first one out there with his he does everything perfectly with his prehab and all that. So yeah, I think he deserves that bit of recognition for sure. Because yeah, we've all been there, right? The injuries it's one of the toughest parts of the game. So yeah, no, hats off to him. I hope he's fully involved on the weekend. And yeah, hopefully he comes up with another goal for us.
Well, Danny, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Good luck for Saturday. Hopefully you guys are able to, you know, bring home some silverware for Bentleigh. It's going to be a massive game on Saturday, so good luck to you and the rest of your teammates.
For sure. Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem. That was Bentleigh Greens midfielder Danny Kim joining us live here on the NPL Victoria pod. Lachie, it's going to be a huge game on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely massive. And I wouldn't be surprised, given the last few weeks that he's had, if Ken Krilicki is maybe heavily involved in scoring another important cup goal. I did like the honesty from Danny there.
How about the impersonations as well?
The impersonations were good. I do appreciate that. It is a good thing, a player in a dressing room who can just whip out a bang-on impression of one of their teammates. And I'll admit that I've never heard Ken Krilicki speak, other than maybe the post-match interview that he might have done in the Australia Cup game. But I'm sure that was pretty close to bang on. And also respect to Danny Kim for trying the impersonation, not behind his back, but when presumably he was standing on the other side of the camera.
Well, we could hear in the background of the entire interview, I think they were playing it out loud, because I could hear myself back a few seconds later, and I'm going, that's just a little bit interesting.
Just appreciating Danny Kim.
Well,
but yeah, I don't know about you, Nick, but you know, I don't really know what direction this Doherty Cup final is going ahead. No. Because to be honest with you, and I'm glad Danny brought up the last time these two sides played one another, because both occasions have gone in separate directions, but both occasions have been really, really close. I mean, it really, the first game at Jack Edwards they played with one another really just it was a Pierce Clark error, basically leaving the ball behind that I think allowed Daniel Clark to score, and that was all that separated them. Other than that, it was a pretty even game. So would not be surprised to see these sides once again run each other close this coming Saturday. I guess the key for Bentleigh is, after that sort of slightly shocking or shock performance against Altona, I think one of the things that would have really disappointed them, albeit on what they describe, or Danny describes as a difficult playing surface, is some of the sort of defensive lapses that led to the goals they conceded. They can't really afford to be making those sort of mistakes against an Oakley front line who are just potent across the three. There's not just one person to worry about. There is four pretty much. Yeah. So
plus Chris Lucas.
So how?
Off the bench
how do they cut out those kind of mistakes? You know, is really, really, really crucial. And also, as Danny was saying, you know, who's that player who could potentially step up and help decide this game? Also, going to be a big task actually for the Oakley defence, because as we've been talking about quite a bit, they are a bit undermanned at the moment. They've had a few, quite undermanned. They've had a few players missing, you know, important cogs in that defensive four that have been out with injury, and they've got to go up against Jump and Ajak Riak, who's got to have one of the highest vertical leaps in the league, and he's just been in fantastic form. So it could descend into quite the shootout, honestly, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this game go the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. To be honest, I find this one really hard to predict as well, Lachie. I think it's going to be an absolutely cracking contest on Saturday. I'm just upset I'm not going to be able to go. Like, I'm actually a bit annoyed. I know I've got other commitments, but
we feel very differently about this game. You're upset that you can't go. I'm delighted because it's 10 minutes away from where I live.
Well,
I can walk to the Doherty Cup final, Nick.
Mate, I'm going to be in Geelong.
Must be. So you could not walk to the. Well, no. You could walk to the Doherty Cup final if you started like tomorrow.
Yes, it would take a long time. Look, at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to going down to Geelong for work either way, so it doesn't really bother me. But, you know, I'm still going to be able to tune in for a little bit, at least on Facebook or YouTube, NPL.tv, to catch all that. That's going to be a cracking game.
Okay, before we get into the score prediction, key matchup, what is it?
Key matchup?
Yeah.
Bentley's Oakley. Oh, Jesus. I was about to say Bentley defence v Oakley attack, but then I realised Oakley's defence is just as injury-ridden as you're just saying. Ajak Riak versus Aaron Williams, because Aaron Williams is literally the sole centre-back that's available. So that's going to be one matchup that I'm certainly looking forward to. Yourself?
I actually think it's not directly, but I actually think it's the battle of the goalkeepers.
Feely v Clark.
Yeah, because Nick Feely has been pretty consistent this season when he's played. He hasn't really put a foot wrong. Whereas Pierce Clark,
he's had some moments.
It's a difficult. He has had a few.
But he's had some good games too.
He has had some errors in his game this season, but that's why I think this is so important, because while I say that he has committed a few, had a few moments that he probably would like to have again, his ceiling, the absolute best of what he's been able to produce this season, has been excellent. I mean, you've been there to see him make some fantastic saves. So if we get a full 90 like that from Pierce Clark, it's going to be even the caliber of the Cannons' defence, it's going to be very, very hard to breach him if he's playing at that absolute top level that we know he can do. I guess the other one is, how do Bentleigh, and it depends who is the sort of defensive midfield presence, whether it's Lambatterides, Danny Kim, Ken Kralicki, whoever it is, how are they stopping the influence of Joe Guest?
Absolutely. And also the fullback battle against Joe Knowles.
Yeah, there is exciting stuff anyway you look. Scoreline. Yeah. Go.
It's going extra time, in my opinion.
I agree.
1-1, extra time. Actually, 2-2 in extra time. It's going to be high scoring.
Okay.
Bentleigh on penalties.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 3-2 in extra time, but this time I'm going to say it's Oakley.
Wow.
Who are the right side of that scoreline. And quickly, producer Oscar is going to give us a Doherty Cup final prediction from behind the glass.
Yes. 7-1 Oakley is what he's saying.
Well, we can just
Definitely,
disregard. Thank you, producer
thanks.
Oscar, for absolutely no help
barring
whatsoever.
an absolute COVID outbreak in the Bentleigh Greens defence, and they have to field Ajak Riak at centre back, and Pakua. Who are you? Pakua, you obviously, are you sticking with Oakley? You sticking with the Cannons?
Always
So
is the answer.
So we got a split. Is it a split, or we got 3-1?
I think 3-1 because
so 3-1 amongst the four of us.
Yes.
No. Yeah, 4-1 is in your scoreline, but in terms of our 3 Oakley, 1 Bentley.
And apparently, for whatever reason, a lot of goals for the Oakley Cannons, which I can't really understand.
I don't know if this is just, if there's any logic to Oscar's prediction or just vibes. Wow. Pakua, look, I think when it goes to penalties, it's a flip of a coin. Anything can happen. And I've flipped my coin, and when I look at it,
You say Bentleigh on
Well, I think the
penalties,
one thing,
I
if
say
this goes
Oakley
to
after
extra time, it actually suits Bentleigh more than it does Oakley.
Okay.
Depth. Think about that. Wow. Okay. So Pierce Clark has more errors leading the goals than Philly. Thank you, Oscar, our stats man in the back there, taking a leaf out of the book of the Chew Man on Triple M.
Very nice.
But in regards to, but that, Lachie, my main thing with that is that, as I mentioned, Chris Taylor has a reluctancy to make substitutions, and his depth has been just pillaged over the last little bit with the injuries. And I know that he's got the likes of Losty and Lucas, and he doesn't really play much of Nick Nyagarian, but he's almost seemed reluctant to make more than one or two changes in most games this season. But Bentleigh, on the other hand, you look at their depth up, who they've been rolling off the bench recently with the likes of Hoare, Cavallo.
Yeah, well, and Mitch Hoare has had such a brilliant impact when he's come off the bench, and he obviously scored that goal got the assist off the bench to get them through to the final. Yep. It was the goal he scored off the bench to get them to the final, and then got the assist against Dandy Thunder to save them a point off the bench as well. So that's pretty serious pedigree to be taking off the pine.
So just looking back to last Saturday, obviously, as Danny mentioned, they did lose against Altona. It's a shocking win, but Altona, first win in 6 after 6 straight losses. It all but assures they will remain in NPL Victoria. A massive win for them at Paisley Park that really no one saw coming. So it all but assures them of safety. They play Melbourne Knights after the break, after the Doherty Cup break in a couple of weeks' time. So good for them that they've been able to all but assure themselves out of that scrap heap, because they were edging ever closer, especially if they'd lost that game. They would have only been 3 points inside, given Dandy City had
they
won.
wouldn't have had the luxury of a game in hand like some others do.
Absolutely. Well, Bentleigh, on the other hand, Lachie, when they come back from the Doherty Cup matchup, that game against Port Melbourne that they've got afterwards might actually have to be moved, because their round of 16 Australia Cup game, which I believe the draw's tomorrow, that's Wednesday if you're listening to the podcast, that round of 16 game will happen on that week at some point. So due to the tight turnaround with that Bentleigh-Port Melbourne game being on a Friday night, don't be surprised if that gets moved. So just keep an eye on that one over the coming days. But they will play Port Melbourne in their next NPL Victoria game, which again shapes up as a crucial game, because Bentleigh are only just hanging on to a spot inside the top 6 now, even though Avondale and Heidelberg dropped points. And it's making itself for a bit of an interesting run to the finish. Lachie, let's get through the remainder of these NPL Victoria games. Starting off, Dandy City 3, Avondale 1. What a win for Dandy City. And Tommy Semi, mamma mia, what a goal to give Dandy City the lead.
I mean, what a pair of 2 goals. So the first one was the most spectacular,
But obviously 2 goals in the second half after Trent Skapetis opened the scoring, and then Christian Trzeski pulled one back, and then Semi basically took it upon himself to win the game for Lubin Palinic's side. And what a massive 3 points that could be for Dandy City. But conversely, another set of points dropped for Avondale, and they still find themselves out of the top 6. 1 win in their last 5.
Yeah, I actually saw that same trend line as well, and I was quite astounded, because they haven't necessarily played like a team that's only won 1 in 5. They haven't necessarily played like a team their results haven't necessarily been reflective of a team who are through to the next round of the Australia Cup.
Wow.
It just feels like perhaps that
the wheels have fallen off.
Maybe. It is
had a lot of injuries.
Look. It's worth mentioning that this game, they did go in without no Stefan Zini. He got injured against Port Melbourne very early on. No Joey Katabian, no Manny Agwick, no Steph Valentini, no Scott Hillier. So that is 5, even if Steph Valentini has been...
Goal.
Well, he doesn't... Nick, you keep trying to put goal...
Mate,
he doesn't count.
Goal is your
Nick,
boy.
Yeah, I know that, but Nick, he played 41 seconds.
Yeah, well...
No, but these were outs for this game. They weren't already players who were out. They missed from the previous fixture.
Goal counts.
41 seconds does not count. That's not even an appearance.
41 seconds is 41 seconds, Lachie.
Okay, well, I'm ignoring Golgoma Ratu for a second. This is what you brought me to, Nick. I have to ignore my hero for the sake of trying to build the narrative that was this game, where they had 5 first
it adds to your narrative. It's the 6th players.
5 first team outs from the previous game. The previous game against Port Melbourne.
Mamma mia.
That's huge. That's pretty much all their with the exception of Liam Boland and Yusuf Ahmed when he's fully fit, pretty much all their first choice attackers out in a single game. Like, that is, yes, it's a disappointing result. Yes, maybe they looked a bit demoralised, but also that is a massive, massive, even for a side who have as much depth as Avondale do. And I did think it was sort of endearing and reflecting of their depth that someone like Liston Diaz starts in this game and I thought still played really, really well. That he was still able to do a job, but it's always going to be hard when you're missing such a large list of talent. But they still made this game competitive. I mean, Trent Skapetis obviously opened the scoring, a nice little combo with Brady Quinn, but they could have been 1-0 down Dandenong City before that, because within the opening 5 minutes, Jasko Koranovic made an absolutely massive save off Christian Trzeski from point blank range. And, from there, Avondale, or Dandenong City rather, are able to hold out, and then they get the opening goal. Semi burns a good chance with that sort of curling right-footed shot to make it 2. But it was an even contest, even with all the absentees for Avondale. They did create enough chances to win the game. But the problem was they sort of left themselves really vulnerable in the sense that...
Gone back the other way.
Well, yeah, because they got the equalising goal early on into the second half, but within 3 minutes, they allow Semi to score that unbelievable solo goal. Within 4 minutes of levelling back up, and he gets the ball inside his own half, and he beats, 3 players to finish into the bottom left past Tom Yonkerman. I mean, when have you ever... or rarely, if ever, seen Avondale allow a single player to just glide by their team, get through their whole midfield line pretty much like it's nothing. That is not the Avondale that we have, come to know in this competition. But anyway, they sort of woke up after that. They got a good few chances. Diaz, obviously, Liston Diaz missed that pretty much open goal after Jasko Koranovic made a good save. And then after they, pretty much... burn that open goal opportunity. 2 minutes later, Dandenong City make it 3-1. Tommy Semi scores a diving header.
And now they're going to, Avondale on the other hand, after losing this game, they're going to be without Matty Reid in their next game. So talk about a double blow for a team that already has a piled up injury list. This is possibly the one place on the field they don't want to lose more players. And it's their best defender going down, suspended for the next game.
Yeah, and the thing is,
against Heidelberg.
The thing is, Matt Reid has already missed enough games this season because of legitimate injury.
Yeah.
And I haven't got the official numbers, Nick, because it's been a while since I crunched the numbers. But their record without Matt Reid this season is not nearly as good as it has been with him involved.
Yeah. So
he is the cornerstone of this Avondale defence. So to be going into a game against Heidelberg, who, let's not forget, beat Avondale in the reverse fixture, without him is going to be...
He's only played 16 out of a possible 24 games
Well, every single Avondale... There's only, I think, 3 players who have made more than 21 appearances. So that means pretty much everyone else has missed a minimum of 3 or 4 games in a season, which is massive, particularly when you consider it is the likes of Ahmed, Valentini, Matt Reid, the real spine of this team, Yite Towns as well, who have only managed 15, 16, 17 games for the year. Like, their injury crisis this season has been extensive, has been legitimate. Whether or not it's enough to justify missing out on the finals, which I got to say, Nick, at the moment, it looks like that's what's going to happen. That's another question altogether. But look, at the end of the day, this afternoon, this fixture, it belongs to Tommy Semi, because what an impact he has made in this Dandenong City side. I mean, I was excited when he first came down. I thought he was the perfect player, someone who maybe needed a new lease of life after that sort of barren goal-scoring run or lack thereof for Altona. And he seems to really be enjoying the greener pastures. We actually had a question come in about Tommy Semi as well, from Aman, who says Tommy Semi has hit some form of late. With 2 games to go, if he scores against South and Bentleigh, should the A-League clubs be taking notice?
He's a foreign player. He's a Papua New Guinea, obviously international, so he would take up a foreign spot.
Yes, but he did have that trial with Newcastle before he ended up at Altona originally.
Yes. Look, I mean, it's a risk because he does take up a foreign slot.
Well, so I'm going to catch this. I'm going to catch this question out on a technicality. If he scores against both of those teams, is it enough to make A-League clubs take notice.
No, there's a lot more forwards that I'd be looking at before Tommy Semi.
Well, no, I think it is enough to make them
Maybe at least take notice.
It's enough to make them take notice.
Yeah,
but is it in order to make Tommy Semi into a prospect that an A-League men's club would want to sign, or someone like a Newcastle Jets to give a second chance to, we would have to see a season.
Yes.
We know or have seen over the years just how much more often than not it actually takes for an NPL Victoria or an NPL player who has that NPL stank on them to get into the A-League men's. It takes a lot. I mean, Joe Knowles has been consistently brilliant season on season since he's come in for Oakley, and only now are we seeing him get his A-League opportunity. Like, you have to be really good. And as good as Tommy Semi has been since he's come in for Dandenong City, any scout worth their salt will not be forgetting the 13, 14, 15 game run that he went on, scoring only one goal for Altona.
Yeah.
Like, yes, what he's doing now is great, and people might pique their interest if he scores against those two big clubs, but we have to see it for a whole season. You've got to be scoring 10 goals plus.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, there's so many other players that I think in NPL Victoria. And the thing that, again, that you didn't even mention, he takes up a foreign slot. That's like the big stank. There's been so many good foreigners that have played in NPL Victoria. Tasuku Saki, Alejandro Sanchez in New South Wales.
Yes.
There's so many of them that just haven't made that move because it's a risk picking up a foreign player who's been dominating the NPL, especially at an A-League level where you've only got a few foreign slots, and foreign slots get judged more harshly than arguably any other in an A-League team. So I just don't see it. I think that he's definitely got a lot of quality, but I just don't see it. But anyways, Lachie, because we do need to get to Connor Bell soon, and we've still got to rush through the rest of these games. What it does do now for Dandy City in turn is that it puts them only goal difference behind Hume. Their goal difference is quite poor, which obviously means that they're going to have to basically usurp Hume City on points if they want to get out of the relegation zone. They have a very tough game against South Melbourne, who haven't lost at home this season. That's coming up in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's going to be ridiculously tough for Dandy City, but they're on a bit of a run at the moment.
I could see them. I could see them getting a point.
Dandy City have been pretty poor on the road this year as well. So it's going to be tough, but I just think that considering South as well be playing for the premiership, and they're not going to want to let that drag on for an extra week, and that will be South Melbourne on their home turf.
It was only 1-0 last time they played. South did find it hard to break Dandenong City down at Frank Holohan.
This is very different. Very, very different.
Yeah, it's different because South Melbourne won't have their star striker.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, but at the same time, it's still South Melbourne. It's still the armoured tortoise of NPL Victoria that are going to... It's true. They're going to hit them hard.
I still think they're a chance.
Potentially they're a chance, but a big chance.
But it might be a moot point because Hume City have also got to play Dandenong Thunder, and that's a team who they could get a result against. Yes. They had a 3-3 draw last time out. That was a super competitive game. So you'd say that Hume is still in the box seat. But look, there's every chance that depending on the result of the catch-up game between St Albans and Eastern Lions, if Eastern Lions somehow pull off the upset, you'd say there's every chance really that Hume and Dandy City could maybe tied up. They could both jump.
Maybe.
I still don't know. Maybe. It's nice that we don't know, Nick. It's nice that we don't know.
Yeah, and obviously Avondale, what a game this is, playing Heidelberg at the Olympic Village that weekend as well, which in what really shapes up as do or die for Avondale. They lose that game. It's barring Bentleigh not winning against Port Melbourne, it all but ends Avondale's hopes. But keep an eye again on that fixture because it could get moved because Avondale again playing Australia Cup that week.
This fortnight, as I was saying, on the day at Olympic Village when they played Green Gully, next fortnight, Gully game, Avondale game, pretty much a play-in tournament.
Sure. For
Heidelberg. They didn't get the result in the first one against Gully. They need to get the result. This is to guarantee it because, again, Heidelberg, Eastern Lions on the final day. So they give themselves a great shot, whereas Avondale, Heidelberg and South Melbourne, they have to win both games pretty much to give themselves even a chance, not to guarantee finals, but to give themselves a chance. So Heidelberg pretty much win this game and they are playing for their right to guarantee a final spot and to knock Avondale out, which I'm sure will be motivation for them too.
Absolutely. So we'll keep an eye on that in the coming week or so. So we'll preview that next week as well as we get a little bit closer to that. But Lachie, we had one guest. We had Danny Kim join us a little bit earlier, and in just a second we're going to be joined by Connor Bell from Preston Lions, who'll be obviously up and about after It wasn't only just one game at Frank Holohan this weekend, Lachie. There was obviously two, and the one on Friday night was almost the precursor to Dandy City's win against Avondale. But this was some sensational scenes, obviously down in NPL 3, seeing Preston seal their promotion, their passage back to the top, to the second flight, obviously, of Victorian football. They're top of the league, I guess, for the time being as well, with that win over Melbourne City going into the final 2 games. But looking forward to now being joined by Preston's one of their star attackers in Connor Bell, who is with us right now. Connor, welcome to the show, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having us. How are you?
Yeah, good, Connor. I mean, first of all, massive win last week. Congratulations on, I guess, securing promotion. I guess take us through last Friday and what was really in all was an amazing night.
Yeah, like you said, it was an incredible night. We knew coming into it that we had to win. Like a draw wouldn't have been good enough because we fancied Melbourne City to obviously win the last 2 games. So to come and nick a result in the fashion we did, because I don't think we played very well as a team. I think we knew that, but to get a smash and grab like that was perfect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, as well, the big part about it was obviously the noise that the Preston fans made. Obviously, it's nothing new for you guys. It's a weekly occurrence, especially at home games, but them coming all the way down to Dandenong for that one as well. How much extra, I guess, does that provide for you guys in terms of extra buoyancy and, feeling that support from the Preston faithful last Friday?
Yeah, well, obviously it was strange to have the game so far away. And it was quite last minute. The venue changed as well, so we weren't sure how many fans were going to come. So when we got there, the atmosphere was already building before kick-off, so we were kind of expecting a big crowd then. And then obviously kicking that way second half as well, kind of sucked the ball into the goal kind of thing. So the support was unbelievable, but we've had that all season, so it's to no surprise. And hopefully we get a massive crowd for the Ballarat game next week. It will be brilliant.
And it was funny as well, Connor, because we were speaking to Josh about it, because obviously he called the game. And it was funny because about like sort of half an hour before kickoff, there wasn't as many people, but it was because everyone was stuck. There was a queue stretching around the drive into Frank Holohan to actually get into the ground. And so out of nowhere, we just saw this explosion of Preston fans descend on Frank Holohan. And then we saw another explosion of those Preston fans later on in the game when Jimmy Harron ran away in celebration, and it was your ball in. Take us through the moment, because it was a closely fought game. It was a tough fought game up to that point, and then you get that sort of sweet release of that goal that ultimately won you guys the game. Take us through the moment.
Yeah, so obviously we hadn't created much second half at all. The first half we had a couple of chances, but second half we hadn't really created much. The pitch wasn't good, didn't suit either team. And then, we managed, I think I won the free kick, and then Ned was taking the free kick, and to be fair, Louis shouted over saying, "Con, make a run near post." And then to be fair, Ned couldn't have picked up the ball and placed it any better than where he put it. So it was a great delivery. And then obviously me and Jimmy have both gambled at the front post, and he's managed to get a contact on it, and then the next 20 seconds is just a blur. Like, I kind of talk you through it. I've watched the replay a few times and I still can't remember what was happening. It's just absolute chaos. Like, it was one of the best moments in football I've had. And like I say, the fashion we won it as well, because it was a smash and grab. We hadn't really created much. Probably didn't deserve to win it on the whole base of the game, looking at it, because they had a good few chances in the second half as well. So the fashion we won as well was just brilliant. And obviously with only 10 minutes left and the whole occasion, and knowing the draw probably wasn't good enough, that all built into a special moment.
Well, Connor, this is 9 wins in a row now. And I mean, it came after, at one stage around May, there was a bit of a lean patch, 3 games in a row that you guys didn't win, but you've hit your straps at almost the right time and you've kept this momentum going. I guess, what have you noticed in terms of the shift ever since that loss against Box Hill to now, getting all these wins in succession? What have you noticed has changed throughout these last couple months?
Well, I'm not going to go into the details of the meeting, but we had a meeting after that bad patch because we all looked at ourselves as players and as a club and said, like, we're not doing good enough. So you can call it a crisis meeting or whatever you want to call it. But we all came together as a club kind of thing and said, like, we can't afford to drop any more points. We knew we were going to run, and any level of football to go on the run we have, there's something but we were still creating chances in the run. I think Louis pulled us because a few of us were getting disheartened, but it wasn't the fact that we weren't making chances, we weren't taking them. If we hadn't been creating chances, then that would have been a problem. But like I say, we were creating chances, and then just we've been on a run and we've ground out results. Like the other night, probably didn't deserve to win, but we've come away with a win. If you look back at the run we had mid-season, we might have came away with a draw then. So just a mentality shift, probably knowing that we can't afford to drop any more points if we want the championship.
Well, look, I know you said it was a blur for you, Connor, the 20 seconds after that goal went in against Melbourne City, but I know you've had the chance to watch it back on replay. But my question is, have you had the chance to speak to James Harron about his celebration? Because he's there against the fence celebrating with the Preston Ultras, and then all of a sudden we just see him holding this Go City advertising boarding and throwing it back over the fence. What was going on there?
Well, I do know that he was on a yellow when he done that. So if you actually watch the video, I start walking back and I'm trying to block the referee's view so he can't see in case he gives him a second yellow. So I put my arms out because he started speaking to the linesman and I thought he was going to get a second yellow. But yeah, that's what Jimmy's like. Obviously, first goal of the season for him as well, and what a goal to get. So I was buzzing for him, and then obviously the celebrations that follow.
Well, speaking of goals, Connor, you've obviously not been doing too badly in that department yourself. 12 for the season. What's been the secret to this, quite impressive run you've been on in this second Preston stint for you?
To be fair, if I'm being truthful, I would have liked to do a few more. I've had a few chances. I think I've hit the post or the bar 4 times in the last 5 weeks. Obviously, if they go in, then we're having a different conversation. But obviously, I'm playing on the wing. I've played striker my whole life, so I kind of know where the net is. And like I say, the team creates chances, so as long as the team are creating chances, I'm confident that I'll put the majority of them away.
Well, Connor, you've obviously been bolstered by the likes of Johnny Germano and Sasha Oganovsky coming in during this recent window. I guess how important have they been? Not just as being players on the pitch. Obviously, Sash coming in obviously towards right at the tail end of his career, coming out of retirement to play. But in just terms of locker room figures, guys who have been there and done that at the highest level, I guess how much of a boost has that been for you guys? I guess just from that standpoint.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. Like I said, the on-field stuff they'll bring. But off the field, got quite a young squad. Not me personally, but if you look at some of the younger lads, they'll probably look up and like to see a few more senior figures, which we've not got in the place. And just the knowledge and the game management stuff. Like there was a moment in the game the other night. We were under the pump for the last 5 minutes, and Sash came on, and there's a high ball coming in, and instead of just heading it away, he's just casually knocked it back to the goalkeeper. It's just a little thing like that, but it takes the whole pressure off the team. It kills the game for another 20 seconds. You can't buy that. And then in terms of Johnny, he's come in and give us a bit more quality in the final third, that final ball that we were missing. So them few additions that have come in towards the end part of the season has probably contributed to the run as well. So it's just what we needed.
Well, and it feels like those little tips and tricks being dished out by the experienced players have rubbed off on the youngsters, because obviously you mentioned Nadim's ball in for the winning goal on Friday night, and he's been one of these players I think who really has stepped up over this run, playing in defensive midfield, pinging those nice long passes to forwards like yourself. I mean, it does feel like Nadim and the rest of the young players in the side have really stepped up over this run as well.
Yeah, totally right. I think the young players have definitely stepped up. It was mentioned in the meeting that we all need to pull together as a team, and I think obviously they were coming into a new club, the young lads. And like you say, the pressure at Preston's probably different to most other clubs, but they've grown during the season, and then you've seen the fruits of that in the last few weeks. I feel like everyone's playing well and stepped up and doing what's required to win the championship.
Well, Connor, obviously 2 games left in the season. The NPL 3 title, you've got the promotion secured, but the title is in your hands. What's the mood? Are you guys confident that you can close out these final 2 games of the season and maintain this unbeaten run and end the year as NPL 3 title winners? Yeah,
listen, I'm not going to lie and not say we're happy we're promoted. Of course we are. But the goal of the season, we weren't speaking about promotion, we were speaking about championship. So I think everyone were laser focused on winning the championship. And I think, by me personally, probably speaking on behalf of most of the lads and the coaching staff, if we get promoted and don't win the league from this position, we'll be disappointed. So laser focused on the next 2 games. And hopefully we can bring the championship home and go 11 wins on the bounce, which would be incredible at any level.
Well, Connor, thank you so much for joining us here today. Good luck for get this week off, get a chance to reset, then obviously the following week and whatever's to come after that. And hopefully there's some silverware to go with that promotion. But again, thank you so much for taking some time out.
No worries at all. Great show, fellas. Thanks for having us.
Not a problem at all. That was Preston Lions attacker Connor Bell joining us here on the NPL Victoria pod. It's a very exciting atmosphere around Preston at the moment, Lachie. They're promoted along with Melbourne City to NPL 2 next season. But But potentially on top of that, Lachie, they might not even have to be playing in NPL 2 next year.
This could be the biggest promotion we've ever seen in the history of Australian football, where a team goes from the NPL 3 just to like the second, not the second tier of their state, but the second tier of the country. Nick.
Which is
of
insane.
The country. What a moment. That would be, what would that be? 1, 2, a 3-league promotion.
Yeah, it'd be insane. Just absolutely bonkers.
Look, hey, you can't argue that Preston, we spoke about this last week, Nick. We don't really need to go into the viability of Preston being involved in a national second division from an off-the-pitch perspective. But look, if there is a team that deserves a 3-league promotion to something like that, it's Preston Lions.
Well, right now, Lachie, they're top of the league, a point clear of Melbourne City. May as well, as we've got NPL 3 up, we may as well just quickly wrap up the weekend's results before we go back and have a look what happened in the rest of the results in the first and second tiers. So, Box Hill 3-3 against Whittlesea. That was the other Friday night game at Wembley Park. Nunawading a 4-0 winning, and Springvale, they've kept their hopes of a playoff spot well and truly alive, while Springvale just sinking that little bit closer towards the drop and potentially a relegation to the Men's State League. Melbourne Victory absolutely battered at home against North Sunshine.
Well, speaking of teams keeping their playoff promotion playoff hopes
North
alive,
Sunshine is still right in it.
Still a chance.
Yes, which is pretty incredible. Geelong defeating Doveton 4-2 away from home, and Western United, talk about a massive 3 points this one, hanging on to defeat Ballarat City at City Vista on Saturday. So that result as well certainly helps their hopes of securing a promotion spot. But Yanni Panakos, a hat-trick. Really, really solid performance from, well, as he calls himself, Yanisius Jr. So a big result.
That's
big
his Instagram handle, to be clear. He didn't introduce us or himself to us.
That's just his Instagram handle.
That would have been quite something.
We're just quoting him on this one. But just having a look, you mentioned Connor Bell with the Golden Boot race, Lachie. He's only a goal behind
Archie McPhee, because he scored 2
Archibald
on the weekend.
Joseph McPhee, as his full thing on Sports TG is. And obviously, Connor Bell's a tie with Arian Soleimani and a goal clear as well of Nasir Hosseini from Springvale. So we spoke about the table. Victory and Western United a tie on 35 points, 3 points clear of Nunawading. Obviously, Victory and Western United have that superior goal difference, and North Sunshine 6 points off. So North Sunshine need to run the gauntlet. But I think they play Western United in their next game, which if they win that, geez, it's going to get interesting. Springvale, they play Geelong in a catch-up game next week, which, well, that will all but probably determine whether they stay up next season or this season. They're 4 points behind Ballarat City and 6 behind Box Hill. So that game between Geelong and Springvale. Springvale had a mental blank for a second, is this weekend. Obviously down in Geelong, that game got washed out a couple of weeks ago, so that's on Saturday at 6 p.m. We'll preview the rest of next week's games when they do come around, but obviously, as we mentioned, North Sunshine, Western United, one of the big games, along with Preston Ballarat, the final home game of the season for Preston, 6 p.m. on the 13th, and Melbourne City playing at Box Hill. So there's some of the big games to certainly keep an eye on. But Lachie, let's go back to the top tier of men's Victorian football, and let's talk a little bit about the other Saturday game. And this was really, really a massive result. Talk about a statement result for Port Melbourne. 2-1 win at home against South Melbourne. They came from behind. They got the job done. As you wrote your notes, Lachie, you wrote a lot of I's.
Yeah, we don't have a Zoom function on the live cameras in the studio, but you are right. Result. I have written it down as big result with 3 I's. So and it was.
Well, it keeps the premiership race at least alive for one more week.
It keeps the premiership race alive for one more week. But also, Nick, I think this will be an immense confidence booster for Port going into the final. Like this couple of weeks they've had, obviously spoiling Avondale for the 2021 title. That's still a big result for them too. Still a chance of taking the top 2 spot from Oakley as well. But this was an even game, but one in which they were able to get over the line. And you contrast that with their most recent results against the teams they're going to probably have to beat if they want to cause a surprise and win the grand final in NPL Victoria. They got swept aside by Oakley at JL Murphy, and they got swept aside by South Melbourne at Lakeside last time they met. So those last 2 results against the teams who are better than them in the league have been really, really comprehensive, not in the way they would have liked. So to pull this result out, and like I said, it wasn't a smash and grab. It was a game in which they gave as good as they got. They had chances to score more. Yeah, South Melbourne had chances to score too, but that is more of an even contest than a ride their luck thing. Like Port Melbourne were as good a value as anyone for getting 3 points on the day. I think Adam Pittick will be absolutely delighted. And I think this game has almost made me start working on a conspiracy theory.
A conspiracy theory? Should I get some
No.
X-Files music up here, Lachie?
I just wonder if maybe, because we have to talk about the other part of this, which is South Melbourne and the player they're losing.
Yes.
Does this potentially mean that Port Melbourne are, the sort of the sneaky chance to actually win it ahead of Oakley and South Melbourne?
Oh,
I just wonder.
Now, I've got my own,
because I just feel like things are going well for them at the right time.
I've got my own conspiracy theory in regards to Port Melbourne.
Which is?
I think that, they say that there's like a tactical finish when it comes to finals. Like you hear it a lot in the AFL about how some teams say, well, you might want to miss finishing in fourth. It's better to finish third because you get the easier of the two teams and you match up better against them. So I feel like it's only remiss if I pull up some music in the
Supercoat Smart.
Some music in the background. No, definitely not the Supercoat Smart Puma ad there. But let's get the music up. So, Port Melbourne have the best away record out of any team in the NPL. Guess how many games they've lost on the road, Lachie? One game.
Wow.
Now,
can't believe I was right. That's the real shock.
What will happen if they finish third? Now, they'll host the final in the first week. But should they win that, where do they go? On the road. To play Oakley or play South Melbourne.
I see what you're doing.
Now, I know they beat South Melbourne at home. They beat Heidelberg at home. But what I'm trying to say here, Lachie, is I want to believe that maybe a third place finish for Port Melbourne
is the best
finish possible for Port solution. Melbourne. In the words of Doctor Strange in Infinity War, Lachie, how he said there's only one way out of what was it, like 7 million different things that he saw, different possibilities. He said there's only one. I'm looking at you, Pakua. There's only one possible way that they can win it.
It's playing away.
Maybe this is it, is playing away. So talking about...
Problem with that, though, is if they got to the grand final, would it not be played at... Is it going to be played at Amy?
Or will it's still technically an away ground. It's still technically away.
Neutral venue. How does that affect the Port Melbourne formula?
Well, I mean, Port Melbourne's only loss on the road, Lachie, though, was against South Melbourne 3-0.
Yes.
But they have beaten them since. Look, I understand the end of the day. You want to finish top two because you do get the week off.
I come at it from a slightly... I don't think your conspiracy theory is without merit. I don't think it goes against my argument.
Do you have your own conspiracy theory?
No. No, Nick, cut the music. Cut the music. My reasons for feeling this way are this. You head into the finals. Oakley are flagging just a little bit, just because of the injury crisis.
Could still be in the Australia Cup.
The amount of games they're having to turn around. They've got big things to kind of contend themselves with. It might affect them going into finals. Mm-hmm. Port Melbourne haven't got any concerns like that.
Sure.
They've got a fully healthy squad. They've got a squad who they didn't bring anyone in the mid-season window. They've had this same team who knows exactly what they're doing.
No distractions.
Yep. Players who are coming into really, really strong form. Josh Wilkins has been brilliant in the last two games against Avondale and South Melbourne. He got the assist for the equalising goal. South Melbourne, on the other hand, yes, been great all year. Haven't lost at home.
Let's get
all
into
of that,
Lachie.
But they're going to have to play out the end of the season and the finals without the NPL Victoria Golden Boot in Harrison Sawyer after it was announced today, Nick, that he has made a move to the Indian Super League.
Well,
as yet unnamed Indian Super League
17 goals this season, Lachie. And the thing is, unfortunately for South Melbourne, they couldn't delay the transfer because it had to be done in the Indian transfer window. So Harrison Sawyer, obviously,
they couldn't even loan him back or do a guest marquee.
Yeah, just some
kind
sort
of thing.
Marquee. To quote Greg Blake there. But anyways, but honestly, it's a massive loss for South Melbourne. Luckily enough for them to have a guy by Jai Ingham just waiting on the bench. It was just maybe this has been the whole reason.
See, I don't agree with that, Nick,
because I understand that hoof it long to Harry, and it's worked all season in terms of that.
I don't even think that's necessarily fair though. Like, yes, that was kind of how they started the season, but they have become a little bit more than that.
Sure.
Like Harrison Sawyer is not just winning the ball like in the air. Like, yes, he is doing that, but over the course of the season, like this is the kind of the point that I want to make with this is he actually really really deserves this move because like the goal scoring
He's
is
had a great season.
The goal scoring is one thing, but he has really developed that element of his game, which is the hold up play, which is actually bringing other players into the fold. Like I remember watching him a few weeks ago against Dandenong Thunder, and I was actually really taken with his ability to bring others into play. I was like, you didn't, like, yes, they've been trying to use you in this way for a long time, but you didn't have the same level of aptitude for this. But like he's spraying balls in behind for his teammates. Like he's really developed that element of his game, and he deserves the move. But I don't know how South Melbourne are going to sustain themselves without it. Look, as you said, Jai Ingham sitting on the bench. Yeah. They've got the cattle to figure out a solution, but you know, can you fix a Harrison Sawyer-sized problem with someone the size of Jai Ingham? I don't know.
Well, you're going to have to change the way you play.
But can they?
Yes. You got to have a plan. You got to have a plan B, Lachie.
I know
think
that
South
a lot of us have had a plan
but luckily
B this year.
Now Esteban Quintas would have known that this deal didn't just happen overnight. It's been festering.
But also, they don't really have a choice, though, Nick.
Sure, but they're going to have to change up something, and they're going to have to try something on the training yard to maybe try and opt for a different system.
Yeah, you can change something, but it's like, I can decide to chop off my leg and see if it'll grow back. Like
what I'm trying to say is here, okay, it's going to be a big loss because they have tailored a lot of the way they play around Harrison Sawyer, and he has scored a lot of goals. He's been getting involved in the link-up play, but it's not as if they don't have other players who can hit the back of the net and score goals.
Of course. But how are they going to bring those players into play?
We're not Esteban Quintas. We can, sit here and say, yep, how, but I'm sure he's going to have to. He's probably right now in a war room meeting with his assistant coaches trying to work out.
I wonder if it's the same one that Preston were doing halfway through the season. Because hopefully for their sake,
the alarm bells will be ringing at South Melbourne, going like, "How are we going to fix this up?" But
you're right.
They've got time. This is the beauty. I know it's not a lot of time.
Do they have time? There's 2 weeks left of the season, Nick.
Okay, what are they doing this weekend?
They've got 1 week off.
Yeah, but that gives them more time than say they have a game in 3 days.
It's still only 3 weeks, Nick.
Still, but they've got to work something out.
But this is the system
it's the
that
same
has been
logic.
entrenched in the way that South Melbourne have played and got results all year.
Sure.
Like, yes, they're going to have to change, but you don't just... Jurgen Klopp doesn't just throw the book out and be like, okay, we've got 3 weeks to figure out a new system.
But then what are they going to do? So what are they going to do? Just stop playing? Yeah, they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to try something new.
Of course, but of course they're going to try something new, Nick. But my point is not that. My point is, will that be enough? Is that actually going to get them over the line? I'm not sure that it will.
Well, it's enough. I think there'll be enough for them to win the premiership this season at least.
But they need 2 points. Will it win them the grand final?
Okay, but against Oakley's battered defence, is that really going to be...
But this is why I'm saying Port Melbourne are the team that we should be worrying about.
But maybe they won't have to worry about them until the Australia Cup.
Oakley have got their Australia Cup concerns. South Melbourne have got to literally learn a new playbook. Port Melbourne, they've been playing the same playbook all year with the same players who are playing well. I would not be shocked to see them steamroller both of them because I think they are coming in to good form at the right time of the year, and they don't have to concern themselves with how we're going to play. Who are we going to play with? Who's injured? They don't have to worry about that. They can just play their game. And if they keep on playing like they did against South Melbourne, like they did against Avondale, who knows? We could be talking about a Port Grand Final win. I think South Melbourne are still the favourites, but it's not easy to figure out how to fix that problem overnight.
I've got to ask you conversely is, as much as Port Melbourne were able to work their way through South Melbourne's defence.
Okay.
South Melbourne's defence, you got to think about it. Doesn't matter about them overly scoring. They only have to score 1 or 2.
You can't win a grand final 0-0, but yes.
Yeah, so they've got to work.
You can win on penalties.
How are you going to break down the South Melbourne armoured tortoise? They've still scored 57 goals this year, Lachie. Obviously, 17 have come from Harry Sawyer, but they've still found a way to score 40. That's a lot more than. That's more than half the league. It's more than Green Gully.
To be fair,
more than Dandy Thunder.
When Harry Sawyer, I'm thinking back to 2021, and when Harrison Sawyer got that syndesmosis injury last year, that coincided with the dip in form. Like South Melbourne's had a brilliant start to last season. Harrison Sawyer got injured, and then the second half of the season they faltered. They brought in Josh Baresi. He wasn't able to do the same job as an attacking outlet. He was clearly more of an attacking midfielder. So I'm just saying.
Look, of course, I understand.
History has shown that Harrison Sawyer is not an easy fix.
But then again, this is a different South Melbourne team that have a much better attack and players in around him than they did last year. They didn't have Andy Brennan. They didn't have Alan Webb. They didn't have Max Mikola.
That's true.
Like
but they don't have Harry Sawyer.
They didn't have Jai Ingham.
Okay, well,
Jai Ingham, we know, mate. He's a big game specialist.
Not next week, but the week after it will be very, very interesting to see how they deal with this loss. I'm advocating for the Devil quite significantly.
You are
here.
You are.
And that's not to say that South Melbourne aren't still the favourites for the grand final. Shouldn't still win. Aren't good enough to win the competition. But imagine if you took your most important player out of any team. Invariably, that's going to impact the way you play. That's going to impact the quality of the overall team. Even if you still got a good replacement player, it's still going to really hamper you.
Good teams find a way to work around it.
Okay. Well, South Melbourne have to.
Good teams find a way to work around it.
Will they is the big question going into the end of the year.
Well, let's find out how good of a coach Esteban Quintas is.
Yeah. Good
genuinely,
question.
No, it genuinely is. How good of a coach is Esteban Quintas? Now's the time to find out.
If he can overcome this, I will worship at the altar of Tato.
Okay.
Of Esteban Quintas.
Anyways, Lachie, let's get through the rest of these NPL Victoria games. We've got two more to get through. Dandy Thunder versus St. Albans. 1-0 win for Dandy Thunder. Early goal from Harry Ashcroft, the difference. Dandy Thunder, Lachie, still in the hunt for finals. Right now, they are only 4 points off, and they play Hume City in their next game. And win that, Heidelberg and Avondale, one of them slips up. Bentleigh slips up as well, Lachie, and Dandy Thunder are only a couple points out with a game to go.
I mean, as you said, if Heidelberg and Avondale draw...
Port Melbourne beats Bentleigh.
It's a chance. It is a chance. It is a chance because obviously Avondale, they're already out of the finals. They've got to play South Melbourne. But Heidelberg's a weird one because you always talk about that Eastern Lions game as yes, guaranteed 3 points. But it was a 2-2 draw last time they played. Eastern Lions is the kind of side against whom Heidelberg could struggle. Look, I still think... I think, Nick, that the top six is going to finish exactly as we see it now.
Probably.
That's my prediction.
But I want Dandy Thunder to push it right to the end.
Yeah,
I think they will. I think we'll go to the final day with Dandy Thunder.
But that's why this game against Avondale is just so important. They can't even... Dropping points is... a draw is not a bad result for them, but it's not enough.
Yeah,
they've got to enshrine it.
They've got to win.
Actually... Green Gully, by the way, who will get a chance to talk about, or is that the game we're going to get to? Well, we're going to
go one more, Lachie, because our producers here at the moment are just demolishing our popcorn that we bought, and I am not happy. Now, I'm going to be having some words when this show finishes up, Lachie. I know that you don't care about salted caramel popcorn, but I do. Anyways, as we said, Dandy Thunder, 1-0 win over St. Albans. Keeps them right in it. They take on Hume in their next game away from home. St. Albans catch up round this week against Eastern Lions. They have to win. Or get something, this is a point or something.
This is for their NPL 2
place. And they have not won in quite some time, so it's going to go right down to it. No.
But who knows what kind of Eastern Lions they'll face? An Eastern Lions team who's finally broken that hoodoo of the Gardeners Creek curse this season. They've gotten a point for the first time in a while. St. Albans also won't have Zelfi. I've got to bring this up. Zelfi Nazari, who managed in this game against his former club, by the way, to get 2 yellow cards in the same sequence. A foul that happened away from where he was. Yeah. He complained about the referee giving the foul, got a yellow card for the dissent, and then continued to be a dissenting voice towards the referee and got a second yellow. Just foolish behaviour. And also shout out to the unnamed Dandenong Thunder representative who could be heard in the background of the stream yelling, I think it was, what was it? Cop that one, Zelfi. As he was marching off. Won't reveal any names, but it was picked up on the stream. And look, he deserves to be critiqued there because going into a crunch period of the season, someone who's got the quality and the ceiling of a Zelfi Nazari, you can't be throwing away your spot in a catch-up, like an all-important catch-up game over just referee back check.
And I've got a question I want to pose to Tony Pasolio, who's probably listening at the moment, because Nikola Jokovic is now up to 14 yellow cards this year. Has he broken the record?
We really have lent on the historical knowledge of TP.
I want Tony, if you have that stat handy, I'd love to know how high up the yellow card standings Nikola Jokovic is.
We're still waiting for one more NPL red card. NPL 2 red card.
I think there was a red card in NPL 2. But anyways, Lachie, let's just steamroll through this Heidelberg Green Gully game. Let's steamroll through it, all right?
The game that I did.
Yes. Well, Lachie, it's 7:30, man. Like we're getting the wrap up from our overlords at the moment. They're going. Let's go. No, anyways.
That's all right. It's all right. We don't want to hear about how Lachie's experience at Heidelberg. You know.
Of course we want to. Don't start guilt tripping me here.
First time I've ever been to Olympic Village. Got to meet Greg Blake. You know.
You were there on Wednesday.
Yeah, but that was my first time. It was the first week of Olympic Village outings. It's all right, you don't care. It's fine. Let's perfunctory game. Anyway, guys, Green Gully scored.
But I didn't say just go all.
Anyway, Green Gully scored 2 goals. Heidelberg scored 1. That's the fixture. Anyway, and let's wrap up the show.
Pick me, Lachie vibes right now. Really is pick me, Jesus.
No.
Go. You and Steve
like
Kern
I said,
were there. Yeah.
This was the first of 2 sort of play-in tournament games for Heidelberg. Unfortunately, they've faltered on the first occasion. I think. My read of this game at Olympic Village was that they were feeling the effects of the game against Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, they didn't have to travel. They obviously had that fixture against the A-League club on their home turf, but it's not easy to play against an A-League club. Like, the amount of work you have to do off the ball to try and contain a team and be competitive with a team like Brisbane in the way that they do, which, are a team who like to keep the ball on the deck and play in possession, that is going to take a lot out of you. And it did feel like from the first whistle that Heidelberg were a little bit physically taxed. I don't think there was any player out there on the pitch, to be honest, who was at their absolute best in this game. To be fair, while they conceded a lot of the possession in the first half, to Green Gully had only really managed pot shots from the edge of the box. The problem is, as the old football cliche goes, Nick, you buy enough tickets, you are going to win the raffle. And after a couple of ticket purchases, it was Gianluca Iannucci who did end up winning that raffle. An unbelievable half volley on the angle from 25 yards past Nick Arash in goal. And not content with scoring a banger against Wollongong United in the Australia Cup, Gianluca Iannucci just decided to go one better and open the scoring. And honestly, I think that first goal was crucial.
Do you think that's goal of the season? Oh, it's got to be up there, top 5.
It's at the moment for me, probably it's top 3. It's probably second only to, I guess it depends what you like. Because it's kind of a question of taste. Because if you like long bombs, it's up there, Iannucci's is probably at the tip top. But also, if you like acrobatics, I mean, Braden Mann's goal for Dandy Thunder, the scissor kick against Hume City is...
Or solo efforts if you're looking at Tommy Senior's.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot it was a good weekend.
Anyways, go on.
Anyway, I think the first goal in this game was crucial. And if Gully got it, it was always probably going to end in their favour because they are an excellent side at defending leads. We've talked a lot about South Melbourne's defence this year, a lot about Port Melbourne's defence. I don't think we've spoken enough about Green Gully's defence. Yeah. They've kept 10 clean sheets this season. So once they get a lead, they're more than capable of holding on to it. That's exactly what they did in this game. It was a counter-attacking masterclass in the second 45. They were happy to let Heidelberg have the ball, but every time it broke the other way, Gully did an outstanding job of any time a player got the ball on the break to get 3 or 4 players either side of them. And that was exemplified in the second goal they had to pretty much put this game to bed. A long clearance out from the Gully back line. Matt Crooks is the first to the scene. And within his first feature near the ball, he's got Luke Jago to his left, and then he had Jordan Lampard to his right. Eventually, he let it run for Luke Jago, who got the finish. 7 goals of the season for the midfielder. That's quite the impressive tally. Heidelberg threw the kitchen sink at it thereafter. But as I said, Gully, they know how to defend leads. They limited Heidelberg to really low quality looks. I think Liam Driscoll only made 1 or 2 saves. Kane Shepherd obviously got that finish, but by that point, they really only left themselves a few seconds. They did, however, have a massive chance with a minute left. Owen Ashton curled one from the edge of the box. It went just past the post, but a lot of people at Olympic Village were convinced it was the equaliser. But I think Heidelberg will be one of, if not the most grateful team that they have got a nice catch-up round break.
Yeah, fans grateful.
Very grateful that they've got the nice catch-up round break. Whereas for Gully, I mean, perfect result
Australia
for them
Cup
because
as well then
they've
as
got
well,
the Australia Cup, but they beat Melbourne Knights this Friday at Knight Stadium. They're in the finals. Guaranteed
they're
the spot.
there. Then they can just kind of sit off a little bit and just kind of put the feet up.
Yeah, great
And
result
just,
great result for Gully.
Yeah.
What kind of a Heidelberg team re-emerges from a week of rest is, I think, the big question. That's what's going to decide whether or not they play finals. But yeah, win against Avondale, pretty much they can guarantee it.
Yep. So Gully have Melbourne Knights, as mentioned, on Friday, then play Eastern Lions the following week. As you mentioned, Heidelberg up against Avondale. Kind of a bit of a blessing in disguise. They're out of the Australia Cup as well because it does give them that bit of extra rest. So curious to see what Heidelberg team re-emerges because they've been some good form as of late. It's just that maybe they just need just a potential breather this weekend. So looking forward to that. Lachie, before we go, let's go to NPL Victoria 2 because we do need to talk a little bit about what happened with a certain administration error. Now, last week, we spoke about that there was some changes to the table about, some point deductions and point additions. Now, I have done some digging, some super sleuthing.
Here we go.
And I have found out the reasons as to why Werribee got a 2-point addition, and those 2 points came off Manningham's total, and why Pascoe Vale were given a 2-point addition and Brunswick City were given a 2-point deduction. Now, from what I understand, Brunswick getting a 1 point. Is it a 1 point deduction?
1 point deduction.
Because it was a draw.
And it was all three for Werribee, was it?
Yes, all three, and Manningham losing all three. So, from what I understand, there was a administration error from an unnamed player in one of the games. I can say definitively in regards to a certain Manningham player who got a little bit excited with his sports TG account and made his own account.
Well, what you're supposed to do is
go
it's the
through
responsibility of the club
doing it, but
to transfer
unless
your...
it was either from him or from the club that there was an administration error. They didn't register him in his proper, original thing that he had.
Two separate accounts made for the same player.
Yes. So then when it went through, when he played his first game for Manningham, there was the administration error that came through and basically the FV picked up on it.
He wasn't considered to be signed.
Yes, he was eligible.
At that
he was
point.
ineligible. So they almost had to wait an extra week. So then they ended up losing those points. Similarly, there was a similar situation, not exact sure of the entire details, but a similar error because Brunswick City went on their Facebook page and said that there was an administration error that was similar to the Manningham incident with a player that transferred from Werribee to Brunswick and then he played his first game against Pascoe Vale. Nonetheless, Pascoe Vale get 2 points. So what that then means is it really changed things up at both ends of the table. And what a weekend it was of NPL 2 action, Lachie. And we were lucky enough to be at the Venator Club last night for Bulleen versus Pascoe Vale.
It's like the gods of football looking at the NPL 2, seeing the points deductions. And they haven't just blown... You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
They've blown the bloody
whole
car off.
NPL 2 truck is just bang. It's wide open. It's in pieces.
Don't look at us like that, all right? We're just trying to have a bit of fun here, all right? Starting off on last Friday night, Brunswick Juventus, Brunswick City. Brunswick Juventus 2-2 against Brunswick City. Means
Massive
that,
points
both
dropped.
ends. Huge point for Brunswick
big points
City, but
dropped.
2 big points dropped for Brunswick Juventus. Gianfranco and Pellizzeri sent off at halftime. I'm not going to say
Don't
why.
say why. Yeah, don't say why.
For those who were at CB Smith Reserve and saw it, you do know why. So he won't be on the touchline for their catch-up game against Kingston, which is a huge game.
And it's not an easy game either because let's not forget, Kingston are still fighting for their safety.
And they're great on the road.
And they're great on the road. Yeah.
So there was no happy scenes down at John Kay Memorial Park on the same night. There was no... not a happy edition of Kotze's Corner because they lost 3-1 against Manningham, who after losing those points made up for it straight away and got the win. Yeah, just said, you know what, stuff it. All right, let's just shore things up. They weren't able to get the job done, so Manningham with the win. North Geelong did what they had to do, beat Kingston 2-1 at home, keeps themselves in top spot, edging closer to promotion, but not just there yet. Goals from Anthony Banavac and Caleb Mikulic extending his lead on top of the Golden Boot race. Lang Warren, Lachie, you were down there. A massive 3-1 win against GV Suns. A bit of a scare.
Yeah, come from behind win against Goulburn Valley. Matthew Breeze, of all people. I thought Matthew Breeze was retired,
but he's come back.
He's scored 3 goals now in 6 appearances for GB Suns. And what an important... I'll touch on that later. But what an important asset he could end up being
For a one-off
for their
game.
promotion relegation playoff games. Yeah, Langwarren eventually coming from behind in this game, second half goals from Marcus Holmes right out of the blocks pretty much helped them to turn it around. And then Jacob Brito, young former Dandenong City youth, some people who watch the NPL might remember him from last year, who has had an excellent couple of games, got his first goal in Langy colours to just sort of seal it up. I think Langy were the better side on the day, but they were made to work for it by the Goulburn Valley Suns. And look, I will say this, for Goulburn Valley have dealt with an immense, almost an Avondale level injury crisis. They've used 36 different players this season. They lost their starting keeper to a season-ending injury at the start of the year, Zach McLeod. All the best, Zach. And they lost their captain as well, Matt Lelliott, to a season-ending injury.
Jamie Lelliott is a certain Collingwood player still living rent-free in your head, Lachie.
I'm ignoring that. Well, there is an actual James Lelliott who plays for Goulburn Valley Suns, legitimate player, poor form from
See Oscar out there.
Anyway, they've lost their captain and their keeper to season-ending injuries.
Yeah.
And yet, you go into a game where a team's only got 3 points and your expectations are pretty low. But they performed very solidly in this game. And the nature of the promotion relegation playoff, I think I saw enough from them, and this could be famous last words, but particularly with the injection of Matthew Breeze, the sort of live wire he can create, he can do anything. You don't know what you're going to get from Matthew Breeze in a game. One-off game. I reckon they could stay up, and it would be really funny if they did.
No, don't win a game all season, but then win the promotion relegation playoff. That would be
I think
something.
they could do it. I think they've got enough to win a game.
Depending on who they come up against.
I was impressed with some of their players.
Yeah.
I really was.
The other results, Moreland City 3-0 win against Werribee City. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Moreland City, in terms of Moreland City winning helps their promotion aspirations. Werribee City, on the other hand, dropping points after their little bit of a gain, in their hopes of staying up and avoiding that playoff. But Lachie, last night, oh my goodness, Bulleen versus Pascoe Vale. What a game it was. Pascoe Vale 3, Bulleen 2. It felt like I was a child between two parents, because Bulleen, being a ground announcer at Bulleen and hosting Paco Radio, it almost was the Debano Derby, if there ever is such a thing.
Well, this is the problem with being involved with the NPL. Someone would describe you as a gun for hire.
Yourself too, mate. You're
for doing Preston and Langwarren stuff. Yeah,
Preston, Langwarren, Bulleen.
Yeah, Bulleen as well.
Yeah,
people weren't supposed to know about the Bulleen stuff.
Well, they would know if they just go on Facebook.
I'm in trouble now. No.
So, obviously, Bulleen hit the front early through Nick Setek. Good finish, just rounding Alex Pavlidis, who had a bit of a tough game between the sticks. Shout out to you, Pav. Had a very tough game with both goals. But obviously, Nick Setek opening the scoring. Paco equalising from the spot. Bit of a contentious penalty. Aidan Musadanagic, good finish from the spot. He had a sensational game. Well, actually, it was saved by Wansuk Choi.
Wansuk Choi made it a great save.
But then did well.
It was almost too good of a save.
Yeah.
He dived down to his right.
And parried
he got
it back.
both hands to the penalty. Like, how often do you see a keeper get both hands to a
Very
penalty?
rare.
Literally never happens.
Yeah.
But he got both hands to the penalty. But because he had it so covered, he spilt it back in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Like he did the hard part. He made it look so
And he
easy.
knocked
but the
it back
easier
into his
part,
direction.
which is tipping it away, getting it away from the danger zone. He did almost slapped it back into the middle. Empty net was the target, 1-1 back on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then straight after half time, Ricky Foster Hossaway, great goal. Well, with his chest. I mean, it was a great response out of half time.
Cross from
He's
Felipe
having a great
Sanchez
season,
as well.
just quietly. Ricky Foster Hossaway up to 10 goals now this season.
Really
then
rated.
Max Batchelor continued his good run, got an equaliser. Again,
heartbreak
Alex
kid.
Pavlidis, the heartbreak kid. We saw
How's
him
this, right? I think we've spoken about the fact that Max Batchelor, the Bulleen striker, is
on Heartbreak Island.
Is going on Heartbreak Island. Nick and I were having a feed post-game.
Josh
and
Parrish.
what should pop up on the television where we're eating our meal than an ad for Heartbreak Island?
with Max
And
Batchelor.
Max Batchelor was on it.
Yeah, and we were both like, hang on, that's Max Batchelor.
Yeah, we had
didn't
that
realize-
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Leo DiCaprio just...
Yep. But in the
Pointing at the
end,
screen.
that equaliser was relatively short-lived because the super sub, Mohammed Habib, coming on and scoring. That was a brilliant goal, by the
Ripper
way.
finish. And
Great
Foster
finish.
Hassaway with the assist as
Yep.
well.
But I think the highlight for me out of that game, Lachie, was Matt Hennessy's tackle on Terence Carter, almost breaking him in half. It was not, again, hope Terence is okay, but it was such a well-timed tackle that just the pure force of it sent him almost doing a front flip. And he landed on his arm. He was okay to play through it, but it was a big crunching tackle. But in the end, Pascoe Vale hanging on, massive 3 points for them. I do apologise to our listeners at home. Another No Paco Radio this week, hoping to come back next week with Alex Cobo, the head coach in studio. So we'll keep you updated.
Just too
with
busy
that.
celebrating last night's win.
Well, it's a massive 3 points because what it does do, Lachie, is it sets up a huge game next week.
Grandstand finish.
2 points behind Moreland City, 4 points behind North Geelong. And who do Paco play next week, Lachie?
Moreland
City. At CB Smith.
There's no other Moreland now. I
From
forget.
Friday night footy. And obviously Brunswick Juventus this week against Kingston. Brunswick Juventus have to win that game. They have to win that game.
Well, they shot themselves in the foot because if they got the win against Brunswick, got the win
only be
against
3 points
Kingston,
off?
they'd be in the top 2.
No, they wouldn't.
They would be.
Against both those games.
If they won both those games, they would have been in the top 2. So they
nonetheless,
really let themselves down. With
they
that
are.
Brunswick result.
They still have a chance. Win this week. 2 points off. But if North Geelong can also get promoted this week, Lachie. They win in their game against Bulleen and Pascoe Vale and Brunswick fail to get results. It will mean North Geelong are promoted to NPL Victoria, which would be a great result for them. Moreland City can all actually as well. Actually, Moreland City can get promoted this week as well. Moreland City beat Paco
next
week.
After
And
the
Brunswick
catch-up round.
fail to win against Kingston. Moreland City, well, actually, no. So Brunswick will have to lose twice, I believe, or not
They have to lose the catch-up and then
always
the
drop
week
points
after.
and draws in there. And
Yeah.
Moreland City beat Paco. Moreland City are promoted as well. So
Wow.
with
So
that
that-
grandstand finish, ooh,
I mean, we've got promotion relegation playoffs. We pretty much have promotion playoffs because Moreland City have got Paco and then North Geelong. And you could, this is so tight. This is for people who haven't been paying attention to the NPL too. This is so tight that there is a conceivable reality in which North
top two could
Geelong
drop
and
out.
Moreland City draw with one another, the present top 2 on the final day, and that result could stop them both from being promoted.
and what that would mean is that Paco and Brunswick Juventus would
both
both
go up.
have to win. So Paco have Northcote, Brunswick Juventus have Werribee. But obviously, in between that, Brunswick Juventus play Manningham. So there's some tough games there for Brunswick
They're
Juventus.
winnable games.
Yeah, but
they
they're
are
tough.
winnable games.
They're tough because
No
Werribee,
easy games in the NPL
because
too,
we're
mate.
talking about the other end of the table, Lachie. Werribee are only goal difference behind Kingston in the relegation playoff. Brunswick are a point ahead of them, and Langwarren now 3 points.
Yeah.
You think Langwarren are just about safe? One more point you'd think would wrap it up. It would basically wrap it up.
I mean, they play Brunswick and Manningham in their last 2 fixtures. So,
Big games.
They're, again, right for your place in the NPL2, pretty much those fixtures.
What that means, just we got confirmation from this from FV today in regards to what it all means. So 12th, GV Suns will play 3rd in the NPL3, which will at this point be Melbourne Victory, and Western United, who are 4th at this point, will play against whoever finishes 11th, which will be Werribee at this stage. So that's going to be massive promotion relegation playoffs. And of course, from the state leagues, we will have going up, if my maths serves me correct, and I can see this correctly with my own eyes, I think it is only, so I think it's only 2 from the state leagues going up. The first top 2, is it the top 2 teams from each league?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes, so I think it is hang on.
So Georgies are going up, right?
This is not good for the eyesight. So what it would mean is potentially it would probably mean that we'd see 2 teams going up. Actually, 2 or potentially. Is it 2 or is it 4? This is very confusing now because it does say there's going to be the same amount of teams next year in NPL 3 with all the changes and everything like that.
Well, it would be 2.
I think
down
actually, because they do need to have 12 teams in there. So it'd be 2 going up to ensure there's 12. Actually, no. It'll be definitely 2. So 2 teams from the state leagues will go up.
I'm confused.
I'm confused too because this promotion relegation key makes no sense. We'll have to decipher it.
Well, we know that the NPL2 will have 14 teams.
Yes, and there will be, according to this, if my maths serves me correct, there will be 12 teams in NPL 3 next year.
The same number as there currently is.
So 2 up. But hang on, because 2 are going up, 10, but it's not confirmed that 2 are coming down.
No, so
And then
it's
2 are
4
going
up.
down, so 4 are coming up from the state leagues.
Yeah.
So the top 2 teams from each of those, which I believe, by my maths, because of course we've got to give a bit of love to our teams in the state leagues. Lachie, I know we're dragging on here, but we do have to give a bit of love to them. Sorry guys, but we do need to give a bit of love to them, all right? This is just, we've got to make sure we know what we're getting ourselves into. Lachie, I know you're tired, but again, you got to show plenty of ticker in these situations, mate. We're into the dying seconds of this podcast. At this point, so from the southeast, Malvern City and Boroondara two teams potentially going up. Bo Morris and Mornington still alive. I know you've got a big fascination with Mornington, hoping they come up. And of course, in the northwest, Caroline Springs and the Essendon Royals as the top two teams.
We're good to see Geordies in the NPL. I'm looking forward to that.
Might get someone on from Essendon Royals in a few days' time as well, potentially. Chat a little bit about them. Big weekend of action, obviously, because they continued this week. But anyways, Lachie, quick predictions for the two catch-up games this weekend. Starting off Knights Gully. I'm going Gully wins.
I'm going to say 3-1. Yeah, sorry, Knights. You're going to suffer the same scoreline as last time.
Eastern Lions, St Albans at Churchill.
Ooh. The head says that St Albans get a win.
1-1 draw.
Yeah, okay. You would do that for the chaos. You would do that for the relegation.
I want chaos, but hey, the point could be gold for him, so
it's true.
We'll wait and see. Anyways, Lachie, time for us to say goodbye. Looking forward to seeing how it all plays out this weekend with the cup finals and the catch-up rounds, and we get ourselves ready for a huge
we will
fortnight.
not be kicking our feet up at all.
I'm so excited for that following fortnight, Lachie. I cannot wait.
Me too.
It's going to be great.
Yeah,
Great.
I love.
I know Oscar's pumped.
I love having no idea how things are going to go.
Could you imagine how...
Much like this show in many ways.
Yeah, we've gone almost 2 hours, but what a show it has been. Plenty of time.
Wow, guys, what a show.
Anyways, guys, miss any of it, head over to our podcast platforms. We'll have the full chats with Connor Bell and as well Danny Kim. Thank you very much for the two of them for jumping on. But for myself, Nick Tabano and Lachie Flanagan, it's time to say goodbye.